hello from Ottawa. I drove out here from Toronto a couple of days ago just to check out what's been happening here. I apologize for the uninspiring background. My video studio today is a stack of pillows, so nice to have you here with me anyway. I've spent a lot of time over the last 24 hours wandering Ottawa, talking with people who are in the protest, talking with cops, trying to get a sense of what's happening. I don't really have a sense yet of how this is going to end. I think there are ways for this protest to end peacefully. I think there are ways for there to be a negotiated outcome. And I think there's a possibility that as more and more time goes on, some of the protesters leave. And I'm not questioning their commitment, but I'm saying some of these guys are going to have family obligations. Some of them are going to have work obligations. It takes a lot of commitment to stay in place day after day after day, separated from your family and your other responsibilities. So I think there's some hope and maybe some expectation among some of the civic leaders here that ends up happening. The problem, though, the more that happens, the more you're going to be reduced to the hardest part of the core, the absolute fanatic true believers who are willing to stay despite it all. And I have a bad feeling that this is not going to end well. I have a couple of thoughts. I'm going to head back out after this video. I'm going to explore some more and do a little more talking. I have some thoughts about how this could possibly be ended, but I think for now I'm mostly just here to observe and report. I will note one thing, though. This is the second time in 2 years that Canadian officials have been overwhelmed and completely by surprise by something that they were actually given warning of. You'll all remember back at the start of the pandemic, right? Back when it was, oh, the risk to Canada is low. We had 2 months of strategic warning that something was happening in China. We knew by early January that there was something going on in Wuhan, and then it was going on in Iran, and then it was going on in Italy, and then it was in the United States, and then it was here a little bit, but it was just travel cases. I don't think you could stop something like COVID, but we barely even realized it was happening until it had already happened. Walking around Ottawa, just looking at the roads, looking at where these guys are deployed, listening to a federal government press conference on Monday, listening to local officials talking to local radio and local TV stations. The attitude seems to be, well, gosh, how could we have possibly known? I was writing about the protest before the protest arrived. The protesters were very clear that they were coming. They called it Operation Bear Hug. The plan was to come to Ottawa and stay until their demands were answered. I am not surprised that we are now in day 12 of this thing as I film this morning. But our officials in Ottawa, I don't even think they've caught up to the present, let alone, being sort of on top of things. I think they're behind. They are days behind. Watching again that federal press conference yesterday, where the main conclusion was that perhaps there should be a new committee, a trilateral committee of civic, provincial, and federal officials that Bill Blair immediately acknowledged actually would largely just duplicate existing functions. That was on the 11th day of this thing, and they're getting around to thinking maybe if we had a duplicated committee, we might have some answers to this. They haven't caught up yet. This is the second time in 2 years that this has happened. We can talk about the protesters. We can talk about the cause of the protest, the mixture of sincerely frustrated people exercising their democratic franchise versus the crackpots and nutters who are definitely part of this crowd. Believe me, I spent a big part of my day yesterday with them. But we also need to talk about why our government not only keeps getting caught off guard by things that were not only foreseeable, but were actually directly foreseen and warned about. At a certain point, this failure is not on the protesters or the media ecosystem or misinformation. If we keep getting surprised by things we've been warned about, that's our fault.